picture this, right? It is day one. You just brought home a tiny, bright, white West Highland white terrier puppy.
Oh, yeah, a big day.
Huge day. And this little dog is, it's small enough to hold comfortably in just one arm.
Just a little fluff ball.
Exactly. So you gently set them down on your living room floor for the very first time. And you're probably expecting, some hesitation, maybe a little trembling or shyness.
Which is what you'd normally expect from a baby animal.
Right. But no. Within 30 seconds, this tiny fluff ball is thoroughly investigating the base of your couch. Like, completely fixated on a sound behind the drywall that your human ears cannot even pick up.
They are on a mission immediately.
They really are. They're furiously pawing at a loose thread in your rug, and eventually they end up stealing a shoelace.
Oh, the classic shoelace theft.
And they take off across the room with it like they just pulled off, I don't know, a grand heist or something.
It is a complete whirlwind. They map every inch of the space, and then usually completely without warning, they will just collapse.
Just drop dead asleep.
Exactly. Into a deep sleep right in the middle of the floor, as if someone walked over and just unplugged them from the wall.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Because there's a massive contrast at play here that catches, so many new owners entirely off guard.
It really does.
Physically, this puppy is tiny. And developmentally, their brain is incredibly immature. But mentally, they are fully switched on.
Oh, completely.
They aren't just looking around a cute new home to see where the food bowl is. They are actively surveying a territory.
Yeah, that concept of territory mapping, that is fundamental to who they are. They are analyzing the movement, the sense, the acoustics.
Even the textures of the floors, right?
Exactly, the varying textures. They are assessing what needs investigating and, frankly, what might be prey.
Wow.
The sheer courage and persistence that centuries of selective breeding hardwired into this terrier, it shows up on day one.
It's already there.
It is. But the crucial thing to understand is that this bold curiosity arrives months before they have any genuine judgment, or impulse control, or even basic house manners.
It's like handing the keys to a high-performance sports car to a toddler.
That is a perfect way to put it.
The engine is totally ready to roar. It's got all the horsepower, but the judgment of the driver is practically non-existent.
Non-existent, yeah.
So our mission for this deep dive is figuring out how you can channel that fearless terrier courage into safe habits.
Right, because we don't want to break that spirit.
No, not at all. We're going to explore how to protect their growing bodies, build genuine confidence, and manage all the unique quirks of the Westie.
And managing that development, it really starts with understanding how they actually grow, which honestly can be highly deceptive.
How so?
Well, because they act so bold from the very beginning, and because they reach their adult physical height much faster than a large breed, it's incredibly easy to fall for the illusion that they are fully mature dogs.
Ah, I see. We see a dog that looks like a miniature adult, and we start treating them like one.
Which is a huge mistake. There is a vast biological gap between physical maturity and emotional maturity. Genuine confidence, the kind built on real-world experience, solid judgment, a developed prefrontal cortex, that takes much longer to form than their bone structure.
So you might be looking at a dog that appears physically fully grown, but cognitively, they are still entirely a puppy.
Completely a puppy in their brain.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. I always hear about growth plates and joint problems with Great Danes or Mastiffs.
Sure, the giant breeds.
Right, we assume the giant breeds are the fragile ones. But we actually have to monitor a little Westie's physical development just as closely, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. What's fascinating here is that long-term health in any breed comes down to steady, well-monitored development, not accelerated growth. You do not want a Westie growing too fast or getting heavy. That puts immense strain on those developing joints.
But for you, the listener, how do you even know if your Westie is getting heavy? Because for this specific breed, monitoring their weight brings up a very unique challenge.
The fluff factor.
The fluff factor. I mean, the Westie coat is basically a puffy winter jacket.
It really is.
You can have a puppy that is putting on way too much weight, but under all that dense, bright white hair, they look perfectly proportioned to the naked eye.
Yeah.
You cannot just eyeball a Westie to see if they're getting heavy.
No, you can't. You have to physically get your hands on the dog. You need to consistently feel for the ribs and assess the actual body shape beneath the coat.
You really have to get in there.
Yeah. Building that habit of hands-on checking early is essential. And that physical condition ties directly into the daily exercise routine, where owners usually fall into one of two extremes.
Yeah, I can definitely guess the first one. It's a 10-pound dog. It doesn't need to do anything but sit on my lap and walk to the mailbox cry.
Exactly. And the other extreme is thinking, well, this is a tenacious terrier bred to hunt badgers, so I need to run them 3 miles a day to burn off their crazy energy.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And neither approach works for a developing puppy. The sweet spot is short bursts of play, exploration, and free movement. What you want to avoid entirely is structured, repetitive exercise.
So that means no long forced runs on the pavement,
Right.
no dragging them up and down huge flights of stairs, and no repetitive jumping for toys on hard or slippery floors.
Yes, the slippery floors are a big one. Their joints and coordination are still forming. Slippery hardwood floors, for instance, can cause a puppy's legs to splay out unnaturally during high-speed play.
Ouch.
Right. And when that happens repeatedly, it micro-damages the developing joints. You want natural, varied movement at their own pace.
And pushing them too hard physically also backfires behaviorally, doesn't it?
Oh, completely.
If you take a Westie puppy and try to run them into the ground just to get them to calm down, you rarely get a sleepy puppy. You usually create an absolute monster.
You create a deeply overtired, frantic animal. Puppies require massive amounts of sleep for their neurological development. A hallmark of an overtired Westie puppy is that they do not look sleepy.
They look intense.
They look incredibly intense.
Wait, let me play devil's advocate here for a second. If this is a tough, bold carrier bred to hunt, why do they turn into frantic toddlers just because they miss a nap?
It's a fair question.
Shouldn't we just let them stay awake and tire themselves out until they finally drop?
Well, think about what is happening biologically. When a puppy's brain becomes overtired, their system gets flooded with stress hormones.
Like cortisol and adrenaline.
Exactly. Cortisol and adrenaline to keep them awake. So they lose whatever tiny bit of impulse control they had. Instead of curling up in a bed, they start excess barking, frantic, pacing.
Oh, I've seen that pacing.
Yeah, and they completely lose the ability to self-soothe or settle down.
Yeah.
If your puppy is having a wildly out-of-control evening, the solution is almost never more exercise or more discipline.
It's a nap.
The solution is usually an enforced nap, establishing a predictable, reliable daily rhythm: sleep, meals, toilet, short play, rest that regulates their entire nervous system.
So it is quite literally the biological equivalent of a toddler throwing a massive tantrum in the grocery store because they skipped their afternoon nap.
It's the exact same mechanism, yeah.
And when they hit that overtired state, that is almost always when the biting ramps up.
Oh, the biting. Biting and mouthing will dramatically increase when those stress hormones peak. Now, we need to contextualize this for everyone listening.
Because it's normal, right?
Yes, biting is the primary way young dogs explore the world. They investigate varying textures, pressures, and objects with their mouths.
Right.
However, centuries of selective breeding for jaw strength and hunting persistence changes the dynamic of normal puppy play. A terrier's biting can feel incredibly intense.
I mean, those little needle teeth feel very personal when they are clamped onto your ankle.
It feels very personal, but it is not aggression. It is instinct, and it does not mean a terrier cannot learn bite inhibition.
So what is the actual mechanism for stopping it then? If we know they're going to turn into a little land shark every evening, how do we handle it?
Proactive redirection is your primary tool. You have to have appropriate, varied toys ready before the biting even starts.
Okay, so anticipate it.
Anticipate it. When they nip, calmly redirect them to the toy and clearly reward them when they engage gently. But there are two major pitfalls you have to avoid here.
Let's hear them.
First, do not play hand wrestling games.
You mean where you push them around on the rug and kind of let them chew on your fingers and sleeves?
Exactly that. It feels completely harmless when the dog weighs 5 pounds. But you are explicitly teaching the dog that human hands and clothing are interactive toys.
Oh, I see.
When those puppy teeth are replaced by powerful adult terrier jaws, that ingrained habit becomes a serious behavioral issue.
And the other big trigger is usually how kids interact with them, right?
Yes.
If a puppy nips, a child's natural instinct is to squeal, laugh, and run away.
Which is the worst thing to do.
Because to a Westie, a squealing, rapidly moving object is prey. The child has accidentally just initiated the most thrilling game of ankle-biting chase ever invented.
Exactly. And that prey drive we're talking about with biting, it doesn't just apply to ankles either. It applies to anything that moves or smells interesting.
Which leads to another major challenge. When they grab your shoe or a forbidden object and bolt.
The stealing?
Yeah, nothing is funnier and honestly more frustrating than a tiny dog proudly trotting away with your expensive sock.
It is funny, but chasing them is the absolute worst thing you can do.
Why is that?
Because your reaction dictates the habit. If you chase a puppy who just grabbed a sock, you are rewarding the theft. You are teaching them that stealing equals a highly engaging game of pursuit with their favorite human.
So instead of chasing, we need to teach calm trade.
Right. You offer them a high-value treat or a significantly better toy in exchange for the stolen item.
And of course, you just manage the environment. I feel like managing a Westie's environment is basically baby-proofing a house, but for a baby that is specifically looking for things to shred, bury, or yell at.
That's a great analogy, because if we connect this to the bigger picture, the puppy has absolutely no concept of which items are expensive shoes and which are allowed chew toys unless you explicitly show them and restrict their access.
That concept of hacking their environment applies perfectly to the yard, too, especially with digging.
Oh, the digging.
We know Westies are earth dogs. They were bred to dig.
They were. Getting angry at a terrier for digging in your yard is a complete misunderstanding of the animal. It is an ingrained instinct. It's not revenge, and it's not deliberate disobedience.
But people get so mad about their lawns.
They do, but blanket punishment for digging simply does not work, largely because dogs lack the temporal reasoning to connect a punishment to a past action.
Right, so if you yell at a dog for a hole they dug an hour ago, they don't know you're mad about the hole.
No.
They just think you are unpredictably scary.
Precisely. You only damage your bond. The solution is providing an appropriate outlet. Create a designated digging spot in the yard.
Like a sandbox.
Like a sandbox, or just a specific patch of loose dirt. Bury safe toys, or highly scented treats in there. When they dig in the approved spot, they get rewarded by finding treasure.
You're just hijacking their instinct and pointing it where you want it to go. I love that.
And while they're in the yard, supervision is mandatory. Not just to redirect digging, but to keep them safe from toxic plants or squeezing under a fence.
Because they will find a way.
A determined terrier will absolutely find the weak point in your perimeter.
Okay, let's talk about the loudest terrier trait. The barking.
Barking is their primary vocal communication. If you want to manage it, you cannot just yell no.
Which is what everyone does.
Of course, it's human nature, but you have to observe the environmental trigger. Are they barking at movement outside? Are they frustrated? The trigger dictates the management strategy.
Say they spend all day barking at the mail carrier or like people walking dogs past the front window.
You manage the sightline, close the blinds, or apply an opaque frosted window film on the lower panes of glass.
Oh, that's smart.
Removing the visual trigger solves the problem much faster than any verbal correction. And importantly, shouting over a barking dog completely misfires.
Because to the dog, you aren't correcting them.
Right.
You're just barking along with them.
Exactly. You're validating the threat and joining the pack.
And the goal isn't a mute dog anyway. We want a brief alert. They bark to say, hey, someone is here. You acknowledge it, and then they disengage.
That is a realistic, healthy target for a Westie.
Okay, so we've baby-proofed the house. We're managing their sleep biology. We've got a digging box. Now we have to take this instinct-driven terrier out into the real, unpredictable world.
The outside world.
Let's look at socialization, because I have to push back on the common wisdom here.
Go for it.
The prevailing advice online is that you need to expose a puppy to 100 people and 100 dogs in the first few months.
Wait, aren't dog parks the ultimate socialization shortcut? If we want them to be bold, shouldn't we toss them into the mix so they learn how to dog?
That is one of the most dangerous socialization myths in modern dog training.
Absolutely. Flooding a puppy's nervous system with overwhelming, chaotic experiences does not build confidence. It builds trauma and reactivity.
Wow.
Dog parks are highly unpredictable environments. You have a mix of massive dogs, varying temperaments, and often inattentive owners. For a tiny, developing puppy, that is a recipe for a terrifying experience, or worse, a severe physical injury.
So what does scientifically sound socialization actually look like then?
Calm, controlled exposure. It means sitting on a park bench with your puppy and letting them watch children play on a playground from 50 feet away, rather than letting a mob of screaming kids swarm them.
Oh, I see the difference.
It's about allowing the dog to simply observe the world and decide for themselves if they want to approach. Autonomy builds true confidence. They learn that the world is loud and weird, but their nervous system remains regulated because they are safe with you.
Observation is participation for a puppy.
I love that framing. So what about recall? Getting them to come when called in those outdoor spaces. Start indoors, in a low distraction environment. Say their name once, move away, and when they come to you, reward them enthusiastically.
Even if it takes them, like, 5 solid minutes of sniffing the rug before they finally wander over to you.
You still reward them. Never, ever punish a dog when it finally returns to you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If you punish them, you have just taught them that returning to you results in a negative experience. Why would they ever come back again?
There is a massive caveat here with Westies, though, isn't there? Because coming for a piece of chicken in the quiet living room is an entirely different cognitive process than coming when called in the park.
Oh, absolutely. Because in the park, prey drive kicks in. A Westie might have perfect recall in your kitchen, but if a squirrel darts across the grass outside, that ancestral hunting instinct overrides their higher level training.
They just get tunnel vision.
They do. That's why you must use a secure leash or a fully fenced area until you have done extensive high distraction recall training over many months.
Speaking of the leash, when people are walking a young puppy, they get so frustrated because the puppy just stops every 2 feet to smell a blade of grass. We look at a walk purely as physical exercise to get their heart rate up.
We project our human exercise goals onto the dog. For a puppy, sniffing isn't a distraction from the walk. The sniffing basically is the walk.
Really?
Yes. A dog's olfactory bulb is vastly more complex than ours. When they are sniffing a fire hydrant, they are analyzing complex data about who is there, their health status, their stress levels.
Wow, like reading the morning news.
Exactly. Processing those scents burns immense cognitive energy. Letting them process the neighborhood through their nose tires their brain out just as much as physical running. Keep the walk short and let it be a sniffari.
The sniffari. That's great. Now, introducing them to other pets in the house requires that same understanding of their hardwiring, right?
Yeah.
If you have a resident cat, that prey drive is going to be front and center.
Yes, barriers are essential here. Use baby gates, playpens, or keep the puppy on a leash initially. Never force an interaction.
And the cat needs a way out.
The resident pet must always have a clear, elevated escape route, like a high cat tree. You absolutely cannot let the puppy rehearse the behavior of chasing the other animals in the house because practice makes permanent.
And what happens when we have to leave the house without them? Westies are very attached to their people.
Which is why you have to build up their tolerance for isolation gradually through habituation. Start with just a few minutes while you go check the mail, then 10 minutes, then 20.
So your first departure cannot be a full 8-hour workday.
Definitely not.
And keep departures and homecomings incredibly low-key, right? If
Right.
you make a massive emotional event out of leaving, the dog assumes leaving is a huge, terrifying deal.
That's right. Now, if you are seeing genuine, panicked, excessive, drooling, frantic escape attempts that damage their paws, destroying the crate that goes beyond normal whining,
What does that mean?
that indicates a clinical separation anxiety issue where you really should seek professional behavioral help.
Let's pivot to the daily maintenance. Toilet training. You mentioned temporal reasoning earlier with digging, how a dog can't connect a punishment to a past action. That applies directly to house training, doesn't it?
Directly. The mechanics of toilet training require extreme consistency, taking them out immediately after waking up, after eating, after vigorous play.
But if your supervision fails
Yeah.
and you find a puddle in the kitchen that you didn't see happen, you just clean it up and you blame yourself.
Exactly. Never punish a dog after the fact. The puppy cannot connect a scolding delivered at noon to a puddle they made at 11:30.
It just teaches them to hide from you when they need to go.
Precisely.
Grooming is another massive part of the daily routine. A Westie coat is incredibly high maintenance.
Which means desensitization has to start immediately. Put them on a secure, non-slip surface like a sturdy table with a rubber mat. Start with sessions that last literally just seconds.
Keep it really short.
Gently touch their paws, look inside their ears, run a hand down their tail. Reward them for staying calm. Gradually introduce the sight and sound of brushes, combs, and eventually clippers or a hairdryer.
It's the dentist analogy. Taking a little kid to the dentist just to sit in the big chair, look at the lights, and get a sticker.
I love that. Yes.
You aren't doing any actual drilling. You're just making the environment completely boring and totally safe before the scary stuff ever begins.
And you must end the session before the puppy gets frustrated. If you push them until they are thrashing around and then you stop, they learn that throwing a physical fit gets them out of the grooming process.
Ah, clever.
Yeah.
While we are touching their paws and ears, we should be checking their skin, right?
Yeah.
Westies are notoriously prone to skin issues.
They are. Now, some occasional scratching is perfectly normal for any dog, but if you see persistent itching, localized redness, hair loss, a funky yeast odor, or if they are obsessively licking their paws, that warrants a veterinary evaluation.
But the immediate reaction online is always to blame the kibble. Everyone assumes it's a chicken allergy and starts buying these super expensive boutique diets.
Jumping straight to switching diets is usually a mistake. The canine skin biome is incredibly complex.
Right.
Persistent itching could be microscopic parasites, it could be a minor staph infection, or it could be environmental irritation from a floor cleaner you use, or pollen from the yard.
So it's not always food.
Rarely is it the first thing you should change. You need a proper veterinary diagnostic workup before you start playing guessing games with their food.
Let's bring this all the way back to that opening scene. The tiny white puppy, completely worn out after a full day of investigating the baseboards, mapping their territory, stealing shoelaces, and navigating the yard, finally collapsed in a deep sleep on the rug.
When you look at that sleeping puppy now, you realize you aren't just looking at a cute new pet.
Not at all.
You are looking at a highly observant, developing terrier whose entire nervous system, body, and behavior are being actively shaped by every single choice you make. How you manage their sleep, how you respond to their biting, how you thoughtfully introduce them to the world, it all builds the foundation.
And to sustain all that exploring, learning, digging, and growing, they need the absolute right fuel, which perfectly sets up our next deep dive.
Oh, absolutely.
Next time, we are getting into Westie nutrition. We're going to cover exactly how much to feed, the mechanics behind their notorious picky eating, and we'll look at whether diet can actually fix some of those complex coat and skin problems we just mentioned.
It's going to be a crucial discussion. You simply cannot build a strong, confident, regulated terrier without the proper nutritional foundation.
So true. Quick housekeeping note for you. You can keep your dog's health records, care routines, and meds totally organized using the Vital Pet app. There's a link in the description to check that out. And of course, this deep dive is for educational purposes only. Always consult a veterinarian for any health concerns regarding your dog. Before we go, I want to leave you with a thought to mull over. We've talked a lot today about how incredibly observant Westies are. They are hardwired to pick up on every subtle sound, movement, and shift in their territory.
They miss nothing.
Nothing. And there's a biological trait called co-regulation, where a dog mirrors the emotional state of their human. So if you find yourself dealing with a frantic, anxious, or overly hyper puppy, how much of that behavior is actually coming from the dog?
Right.
And how much is just a mirror, reflecting your own stress, frustration, and erratic energy back at you during those chaotic early months?
That is a profound question to consider.
Think about it. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.